Retailer Podcast. My name's Dan Holman, and our guest today is Brad Leyden from Revolution Boutique. Brad, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. My pleasure. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, started in retail about 8 years ago, and certainly an interesting journey. Didn't set out on that path initially. I mean, I've always been entrepreneurial for sure in nature, but the women's retail kind of snuck up on me. It was my ex-wife's idea, and yeah. Long story short, it's it's been an incredible journey and something I'm super passionate about. And yeah, outside of that, enjoy or don't enjoy a little golfing now and then, as you know.
Don't enjoy.
Yeah. And two beautiful daughters, and yeah, that's about me. So.
All right. Well, then tell us a little bit more about your journey. Here's a guy, entrepreneurial or not. Here's a guy that is really having crazy success in women's wear, and not so much in these different verticals that they talk about, or classifications or genres, contemporary and couture and entry and fast, and you've got a target market in women. And so tell me how you got to be this great women's retailer.
Yeah. So I worked in when we opened Sherwood Park in end of 2011. So I worked in the store for the first year. Myself and my wife at the time, we had absolutely no experience in retail, and it showed. It was a complete disaster. Right. It was terrible. I had no passion for it. I had no understanding of it. Really had no desire to do it. It was her idea, but like a good husband, it was just, okay, whatever you think. So that was that, and basically after the first year, I was bored silly. I was broke. I felt like I had to, find something else to do, find some other purpose in life than to just sit in this store all day long. So I went to work in car sales for 3 years, and we staffed the store during that time. And the best part about the car sales was I learned how to be a salesperson, and I realized the importance of that in a retail sales business. Imagine that, right? That it actually helps to know how to sell. Yeah. So that was fantastic. We did daily sales training, 15 minutes quick sales trainings before every shift. We had our 1 hour every Saturday where either the GM or one of our sales managers would do an hour on selling. And obviously in a commission-based position like that, if you don't learn very quickly how to sell, then you don't eat. So it was fantastic. I still to this day talk about that sales training and teach my staff those same principles of selling. 3 years in the car business. The first 2 years were great, and then we seen an economy take a turn for the worse, and oil was $50 a barrel. And for a dealership that had kind of cut its teeth on that oil and gas guy and that half-ton, three-quarter-ton, full one-ton truck, the business died. It turned into a ghost town, and I realized at that point that I needed to look at going a different direction. The store had somehow miraculously over those 3 years, despite the fact that, and I say miraculously because we certainly didn't put a whole lot of effort or energy into it. It was kind of, I can still remember driving to the dealership every morning, and I would cover my eyes as I drove by the store because I didn't even want to think about it or look at it. I mean, it was that, literally, I had that kind of perspective as far as my own business went. So, yes, I mean, it was kind of this perfect storm where the store had kind of scratched and clawed its way to sort of an almost break-even point, depending on the month, which to me it made me realize that, if it can do that on its own, then there might be some potential here, if a guy actually tried to figure this out at some point. The dealership was terrible, and I knew that I had to make a hard choice there and likely leave. And then there was also, my personal side of it, which was the divorce was pending with my wife, who was a 30% partner in my business at that point in time. And this perfect storm kind of happened where I decided to leave the dealership, focus on my business. I made her an offer she couldn't refuse. She got the house. I took the business that was literally worth nothing. And that's when everything kind of changed. That's when I started to fall in love with the business of retail. And to this day I talk about, it's not it's not necessarily the widget, you know, the dress that I'm selling or the tunic or the top. You know, maybe you got a kite store, you know, maybe you've your appliance parts or whatever. It doesn't matter what the business. I think, you know, retailers have to fall in love with the business of retail. And once I discovered that it's not necessarily, you know, just buying goods, putting it on a shelf and having it available for resale, once I started to understand the science behind all of that, that's what really got me excited. That's what really got me enthused. I'm a numbers guy, so once I started to realize all the numbers behind it and the strategies and marketing, and, you know, I got very savvy with social media, and I immediately seen the response to good social media marketing. And then that's just kind of what fueled that fire. And now I'm in a situation where, gosh, it's my heart and soul. It's the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning. It's what I think about before I go to bed, but not in a bad way, not in an obsessive way, in a way that, you know, I'm in love with something and super passionate about it. And that's showing up in the results, you know. I think when we get excited about something, I tell my staff that all the time, you know, we have to be excited about the product. Otherwise, we're not going to sell. You know, we can't convince Sally to get excited about something that we're not. So it's key, you know. And if we're not passionate about what we're doing, it's going to show up in the results. And, you know, we focus on getting the right people on the bus that are excited about what we're doing, and it shows up in the results. So it's good.
So we talk about the passion that you have for the business, but let's talk a little bit more about the why. Why Revolution Boutique? What other than passion?
And my wife's idea.
Your wife's idea, living off your wife's brainstorm idea. What keeps you going? What's your why?
So, you know, we talk all the time about our clothing experience. Look, at the end of the day, the dress that we have hanging there that Sally comes in to potentially buy, it's either at some other store or some other version of it, you know, in the relatively same price point. So how do we differentiate ourselves from our competitors? You know, what is our unique selling proposition? It's the experience. You know, that is the one thing that we can do better than everyone else. So we talk about that all the time. And what that does is it doesn't only help move product out the door, but it leaves you, I mean, my staff, you know, on a good day will walk out of that store and go home with this high, this euphoric high, because they've fulfilled so many women's like day, you know, these women. And I mean, look, we're a mature crowd, so we get everything from, you know, I'm not having a good day because I hate my job. I'm not having a good day because my kids are driving me crazy. I'm going through a divorce. My husband's cheating on me. I'm sick. You know, I just came from the oncologist and it's not good. You know, we hear all of this stuff. And we know it's our job to, you know, I always call it's like church coming to my store, you know. You come in, you spend an hour, and it's not whether you take one dress home or you take 20, you always leave feeling better than when you came in. You've had it, you know, it was like a day at the spa, you know. You leave feeling great about yourself, and you have a different perspective on things. My staff are high and feeling good because of it. It's about that experience that we give the ladies. I mean, we've seen ladies come in. We started doing plus sizes, which has been amazing in that we have these ladies coming in that have looked for stylish stuff for so long and can't find it, and they're so thrilled that we have now found this area of the apparel that fits their needs. And I mean, gosh, they're hugging us, and there's tears in their eyes. I mean, that to me, that's what it's all about. That money can't buy that. So that's why we do what we do. You know, that's the greatest part of it. So.
I love that. Yeah. And so, thinking about customer experience, I mean, you mentioned customer experience, and that it really is all about customer experience. Tell me about a customer experience, good or bad, that's made you change the way you do business today.
So I'll give you a great example, and I hope she doesn't actually hear this or see this. I think there's.
Well, we have 4 listeners, so I don't know what to tell you.
Right, the 4 guys in the room. That's awesome. So this was several years ago. I'm not going to mention any names, but. this is to do with, you know, my manager at the time, great manager, unbelievable salesperson, fantastic merchandiser, loved having her on the team. She was part of that transition period where we went from terrible to, hey, like there's a heartbeat here. But she was a German woman, and she had a very strict approach when it came to returns, exchanges, that sort of thing. You know, if it was 90 minutes outside of our parameters for our exchange policy, there was going to be
no coming back.
There was no, sorry, we can't help you. So, you know, after a couple of Facebook reviews and Google reviews, where you know, I realized, look, we got to be a little more careful about what sword we want to choose to die on here. So, it took me a while to convince her of that. But the best example was. You know, clearly outside of our parameters of a return policy, was a customer that had purchased a pair of beautiful leather shoes, and an entire season had gone by, and then all of a sudden I get the email and the pictures from her, and the picture of the shoes, it looked like a dog had chewed on them, and that was because a dog had chewed on them. So her dog, and she didn't say like, I don't know, I just pulled them out of the box and they fell apart. She actually told the truth, which was impressive, because sometimes they bend it a little bit.
Sure.
But she said, my dog chewed my shoes, new puppy to the house, chewed the shoes, and she's wondering what I can do for her. And I'm thinking, my God, don't tell Steph, my manager, about this one, because we know what her answer is going to be. So I thought about it for a while, and I thought, and this woman wasn't unintelligent. She's a doctor. She's a smart woman. And I thought, and the best part was, you know, here's the kicker. So we're at a point in time where I don't have 2 nickels to rub together, let alone a free pair of shoes to give her.
Right.
But, you know, as she's taking pictures of the shoes, I can see like her marble flooring in her house and like this like castle in the background. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you're coming to me looking for a free pair of shoes. So anyways, so I thought, you know what? Even when the customer's wrong, the customer's right. So I can't remember what we did. I think I gave her $100 store credit towards a new pair of shoes, something like that. You know, we appeased her, made her happy, even though I felt like I have no obligation to replace the shoes that your dog chewed on. She's still a customer to this day, and when she comes in, she drops anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, and she's an absolute blast to deal with. And she's never come back with anything else chewed, or I hand washed this and somehow.
The dog grew up.
The dog's better. The dog got some help.
Put it in high heat in the dryer, and I don't know what happened to it. It's shrunk.
Yeah. So, you know, so I tell my staff all the time, look, sometimes, you know, we got to bite our tongue a bit, and it's like, look, this story sounds fishy, and I don't, you know, you bought this thing 8 months ago. I feel like we don't really necessarily do it. But I'll be honest with you, our vendors are fantastic. Typically, I don't get any pushback from them. They probably question it too. It's like, oh gosh. But they also know that, look, we don't want to give our brand a bad name. We want to keep that customer happy. And for the most part, I mean, honestly, 99% of the time, nobody's abusing it. Nobody's taking advantage of us on a regular basis. And it just, you know, in the end, look, when Sally goes on to Google to look at your reviews, maybe she doesn't really notice the one where, oh, I brought this back and they exchanged it for me and no problem. So what is the added value of saying no? Maybe nothing on, you know, optically from that perspective. But when Sally goes on there and sees these horrible monsters, they wouldn't take back, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not good for you. So the added value is huge. You know, you don't get those bad reviews. You keep a good customer happy, and that, at the end of the day, that's what matters.
I think too often retailers revert to the no instead of the yes, and they sometimes forget about the importance. You know, you talk about that customer from so long ago. You know, bringing back a shoe that the dog, you know, chewed up and destroyed. But she's still a customer today, because you made that concession for her, that she was probably building an argument up to come and talk to you. It took enough confidence for her to get in her car and drive over and say, look, this is what happened to the shoe. How can you help me? Well, that's the same thing I would say to a vendor. Look, this is what happened. How do you help me? And because you helped her, you know, she's that customer today, which is awesome. All right, so let's look outside your world. Get outside of this ladies' clothing world that you're in.
Yeah.
Tell me about a retailer, an independent retailer. I mean, we don't really care about the big box today. We care about independence. Tell me about an independent retailer that you admire and why.
Yeah. I'll tell you, his name's Steve, and he's my neighbor in Sherwood Park. He owns Home Envy Furniture. Do you work with him?
I do not. No. But I know Home Envy. Been in the furniture business forever.
Put him on your list, yeah. Super nice guy, fantastic guy. And, you know, when I see his business model, you know, he's... it's not necessarily about volume with him, you know. They don't do a large volume of transactions, so you know they can go some period of time without seeing, you know, a whole lot of action or a whole lot of business. And to me, it's oh my gosh, I think I go crazy in that kind of business model. You know, I'm definitely a little more of like how do we do today? How do we do in the last hour? You know,
typical retailer.
Sometimes
you
I
know,
get
up and down.
Yeah. I'm getting better with that, but I've realized that it's far less stressful if you don't check in every hour to see if we've moved the needle at all. So, but super smart guy. You know, he's got 2 stores, Windermere and Sherwood Park. Great product, beautiful stuff. And in a market like that, I mean, you come from that market, I suspect pretty competitive. And
yeah, there's a lot of
especially
furniture businesses.
with your bricks and your Leons and your big box ones. You know, he does a good job in that little bit higher end sort of niche. But the thing that's impressive about him is, you know, sometimes once in a while when I show up at like 9 a.m. because there's something pressing to do in my store, he's parking and he's got his lunch pail and he's got his laptop and he's heading in there. And it's admirable. I often think, man, I couldn't do that. I love working from home and just kind of, you know, picking at it here and there. He's committed, man. He's 100% all in. Super awesome guy. Love him. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah,
so.
good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, a little plug for Steve over at Home Envy.
Yeah, go get
Love that.
Yeah.
Get some furniture, some accessories, some jewelry.
Yeah.
So we talk about, you know, we gave a little plug for Steve at Home Envy. What do you see as your biggest challenge here as we're trucking through fourth quarter and into 2020? What's your biggest challenge or opportunity to overcome?
Besides the elephant in the room?
What's the elephant?
Do we want to talk about it? I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
I mean, look, we're in challenging times. There's no denying that. And honestly, it's okay to address the elephant in the room. We have to be realistic about the world that we live in right now. You know, if we bury our heads in the sand, so to speak, I think there's a chance that can eat us up. So I mean, we have to acknowledge it and be cognizant of it. I say all the time that the reality of it is we're in a time where we do more and potentially get less. And we have to be okay with that.
Right.
You know, it is what it is. You know, we've seen a lot of stores close. We've seen a lot of stores contract. Shut down locations. We're hearing about it, you know, all the time. Social media, you know, the big coffee chains that are, you know, Tony Roma's, the restaurants are all going away. It's like, you know, a lot of it's spin, a lot of it's just, you know, to attract attention.
But let's be fair.
Yeah.
The media doesn't really want to talk about you opening a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th store. They want to talk about how you're leaving St. Albert.
Yep, because
it's newsworthy. They don't see it the same way.
100%.
And you know, when we think about whatever this elephant really is, whether it's the economy or the political climate or our economic climate or the price of gas, you're right. We got to figure out how to do more and maybe get less sometimes.
Yep.
But when we think about some of these other chains and stores that are closing, is it possible that these guys just suck?
Yep.
Is it possible
100%.
that these stores are closing?
Yeah.
Because they should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the reality of it: is we are looking to open our 3rd location spring 2020.
Right.
I think
Sure.
I think I can officially announce that.
Good.
Yep. So we've been looking around at some various spaces, and certainly I get a lot of feedback on, oh, well, you don't want to go there. There's some stores that have been packing up and leaving there. And my response is, I don't care.
Right.
You know, that means nothing to me.
Right.
I know why they're packing up, because they suck.
I know.
So yeah, 100%. So I mean, for us, look, this economy didn't happen yesterday. We were experiencing 100% in growth, you know, when this economy was happening. So we're not worried about that. certainly our focus right now for our business is that third location right now, and you know, I've talked about it earlier today. I talk about it all the time.
Right.
The most important thing in my business is people. And that's our focus right now. We are doing some rigorous hiring and firing and making sure we got the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats. It's absolutely crucial. I've seen what my business looks like with cashiers and security guards working in it. And I've seen what my business looks like with savvy salespeople that are passionate and invested. And the latter is far more appealing than the former.
It's funny, you know, we talk to, you know, 50 retailers a month, and they all have great titles, you know, for their selling staff, stylists and associates and colleagues. And at the end of the day, if they're not selling, what are they doing there?
Yeah.
And we have to look to hire good salespeople. And it's not about, you know, how well we can sell something to someone. It's how well we connect.
Yep.
And so here you are, you're going out there, you just said, you know, recruiting and hiring and firing and doing all this. Where are you finding your people?
Yeah.
I mean, retailers are struggling to find people all the time.
Yeah.
Where do you find your people?
Yeah.
Where do you look for them?
Well, I don't have this machine with a big hopper on the top, and I just pour them in and crank out fantastic salespeople. I assure you that that's not happening. I wish it was. I wish I had one of those machines, but it is probably 75% of what I spend my time focused on as president and CEO is, without an HR department anyways, is staff. You know, where am I going to find my next rock star, my next unbelievable, impeccable service salesperson? And it's hard. I'm not sure I have an answer for that.
Right.
I'm a spiritual guy, so I truly believe that what we focus on expands. So part of my strategy for finding good people is just to focus on, hey, universe, help me out.
Help me find
I need to attract some good people. And
do you look inside your industry, or do you go outside of it? Do you go outside of your retail clothing vertical?
So here's the thing. My kids used to get super excited when it was time to find a new salesperson because it meant that we get to go shopping. So I'd give them each $100 and let's go out into the world of retail. Yeah. You guys can go look for whatever it is you need to find. And while you're doing that, I'm going to observe and I'm going to watch for that rock star salesperson, you know, that really catches my eye, and I say, wow, there's someone that needs to come work for me.
Right.
I mean, we pay more money than everyone else. That's easy. I'll give them a business card, tell them about the opportunity quickly. Let's have a coffee, and away we go. So we go out into the retail world. So we're at, you know, the various box stores that my girls might be interested in shopping at.
Right.
And the reality of it is there are no super savvy salespeople in those places. So my whole strategy, I'm going to go headhunt them and find them in these stores, didn't work out so well. Now, that being said, there's certainly some of my counterparts in the independent, you know, women's retail arena that have some people that I would definitely be interested in. The problem is these people are, for the most part, friends of mine.
They're friends and neighbors.
And I'd feel really bad going and headhunting one of their staff.
Yeah, so, of course.
So, yeah, I mean, it's good in theory, but not necessarily working out in practical terms.
So is she working in food and beverage? Is she working, you know, at a desk job somewhere, or working at the bank? Where is she?
I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking for personality. We're looking for
sure.
Charisma, that ability to connect, like you said. We know, you know, at the most common denominator in the world of selling and selling processes is the fact that we have to get someone to like us first. So if we're not likable, we're abrasive, we're quiet and shy and kind of, you know, reserved, you're probably not going to work out in my store. So we look first and foremost for that personality and someone who's passionate about women's clothing. You know, that I think if you got those elements, then we can work on the rest potentially. I don't think anyone and everyone can be a good salesperson, but certainly you need some traits or characteristics that will actually, you know, potentially allow you to be that. So we look for that first and foremost, and then kind of go from there. We have a great system where we do like what we call a trial shift. So we're not going to sign you up and put you on the payroll and get, you know, all the paperwork filled out and everything. You're going to come in and you're going to get paid for your time, but you're going to come in and spend an afternoon with us. as much as you need to be a fit for us, we got to be a fit for you too.
Right.
You know, I look at it as, you know, we're going to get married here at some point and have a relationship, a long-term relationship, hopefully.
Right.
It has to work for both of us. You know, if I leave the toilet seat up all the time and that drives you nuts and your hair's all over the place and that drives me nuts, we're going to get divorced at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's make sure it's a good fit for both of us. Spend a few shifts together, and then we can go from there and make a decision. So we do that all the time. That's an ongoing thing with us. A lot of times we have clients that are retired, you know, or semi-retired that express an interest in doing it. So we'll entertain that idea once in a while too. I'm a little more cautious of that one because typically when the day comes where I say, Sally, look, you're the worst salesperson ever, but hey, we still want to keep you as a client if that's possible. Yeah, it doesn't work out.
Doesn't really work out.
So I try to avoid that one a little bit, but you know, we've got a new woman starting in St. Albert tomorrow that I'm super optimistic about. She's been in sales her whole life. She's retired now, but wants to come and sell some clothes. She's super excited about it and passionate about it. And I said, you know what? Those are the people that we're looking for the bus. So hop on board. Let's give it a whirl and see how it goes.
See how it goes. All right. So the third store is on the horizon. Let's fast forward 3 years.
Yep.
What does Revolution Boutique look like 3 years from now?
God, we got a bus full of amazing, passionate, invested staff for sure. We got the third location. We got 3 stores that are super successful. We are spreading that clothing experience and that love to all kinds of ladies all around the Edmonton and surrounding area. And then we start to look at potentially going outside of our you know, within our immediate reach here. Yeah. We've got. I've actually got a wholesaler friend that I've done business with for several years. That's kind of at this point in her life where she's sick of the traveling and the 3-ring circus that's all involved with being a wholesaler, and is looking more to just kind of settle in Calgary where she lives, where her home base is. And her dream has always just been to have her own clothing boutique.
Yeah.
So fortunately for me, she approached me at a market not too long ago and said, look, I mean, clearly if I was to align myself with somebody, it would be you, because she knows how we do things and that we're pros at what we do. And so we're looking at, you know, potentially a Calgary opportunity, which is just crazy, you know. But I always said, you know, the biggest obstacle between us having, you know, 72 stores across Canada and not is staffing. You know? So when someone like that approaches me, who's absolutely a rock star and would be amazing with her own store, I mean, the answer is easy. You know, it's like, heck yeah, let's do that. So, you know, who knows? It's, you know, this wasn't supposed to happen at all. So the fact that it's like exploding in front of my eyes and going in directions that I never thought possible, I mean, it's just the story keeps going.
Love the story. Love the story.
Me too.
All right, so here you are. You're going to open another store. Give me 3 things a brand new retailer should be focusing on. Maybe not a brand new, any retailer that they should focus on if they want to grow their business.
You know, I look at retail as a big engine with a lot of moving parts and a lot of important parts. And the more horsepower we can get and the more efficient we can make each one of those areas, the better the overall performance from that engine is going to be. So we have to look at it marketing and promotion.
Yep.
We have to look at staffing. We talked about people.
Staffing, for sure.
Absolutely.
People, most important.
We can say that one 6 times because it's so important for sure. Inventory management, you know, something you might
know a little bit about.
Absolutely crucial. You know, the one thing I didn't talk about was part of that transition and that transformation was when you and I connected. Absolutely changed. You know, I was, wow, there's actually some thought that goes behind what I put on my shelf and how many I should have, and et cetera, et cetera. So absolutely crucial. So people, marketing and promotion, inventory management, absolutely crucial. The more time you invest in those areas, you know, the more that engine's going to respond, the more horsepower you're going to get out of it. So yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: a lot of our independent retailers that we see they're first primary salesperson in the store also.
Yeah.
It requires them taking a hard look in the mirror and being honest with themselves. You may not be the best salesperson for your store, you know. I avoid my stores like the plague because I know it's the last place I should be, you know. There's far better merchandisers than me. There's far better salespeople than me. You know, I know what my strengths are, and I focus on those. I leverage people, my staff, to do all those other things that you can do better than I can.
That helps you to elevate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do that if we're going to move forward. So whether it's, you know, if marketing is your weak area, then find someone to help you with that, you know. You know, it's my list of, you know, the things that you can't afford.
Right.
That you have to focus on, and you have to find a way to afford them, because the truth is you can't afford
not to do it.
Absolutely.
I agree, 100%.
Yep.
All right, in closing, give us a little snapshot. Where do we go and find Revolution Boutique? Where do our ladies out there go and find you?
So we are a brick and mortar store. We do not sell online. So you can certainly browse our website, www.revolutionboutique.ca. It gives you a kind of an overview of the styles that we do. We certainly are always updating the images with the new stuff that comes in the store. You just can't purchase online. We got Sherwood Park store, Broadmoor and Baseline, by the Denny's, and we're in St. Albert, 140 St. Albert Trail. The Save on Foods, the South Save on Foods Village Landing shopping complex. Yep, we're there. Soon to be South Side. We're working on the location right now. At this point, it appears to be Currents in Windermere will be our likely location. So that's fantastic. And come have a clothing experience.
Great, Brad. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. Brad from Revolution Boutique. Thanks, man.
Thank you.